I was trying to sing the intro to Castlevania.
You like to sing in a lot of our intros.
Because this is FunUntitled, where we serve every podcast with a badly imitated opening.
I'm Minty.
I'm Annie.
And we're going over the last and final season of Castlevania, Season 4. Overall, I thought it was a very good series and season.
I thought it was a very interesting season. I thought it was good for entertainment values. I did not think any narratives was really completed that well. In the words of a famous character at the end, let's give him closure. And all the closure that happened was just, I guess, happy endings is what the fans wanted.
Which is nice for this series that's super dark and for it to end on a bright note. So I thought that was very good, but Season 4 wasn't the season I was expecting. It was different, which isn't good or bad. It's just, I don't know if it was better than what I wanted. But it wasn't bad at all.
Well, let's start off each storyline. As we said in Season 3, there's several storylines. There's Alucard, Trevor, and Camilla.
That pissed me off so much that Season 4 is just like Season 3. The whole point of Season 3 is to be an exposition for Season 4, which it still is. But why does Season 4 still have to have these separate timelines? Ugh, okay.
In Season 2, they separated the two stories and thought, yeah, we can get away with this.
Season 2 made sense because that was good guys versus bad guys. Then Season 3 was like all exposition. Then Season 4, it came together, but let's talk if was it worth it? Was it necessary? Was it good? I mean, it was all good.
Yeah, the first aspect we should get out of the way is the Camilla storyline.
Yeah, so we'll combine the Camilla and Isaac storyline because the Isaac storyline is basically him gathering up an army of demons.
It's
or
him
night creatures.
thriving with his new demon boyfriend.
So Hector is living... Shut up. That's what you meant by that. You know, Hector's still captive for the sisters, making the night creatures. And then, okay, this is the part I didn't like was that, okay, I love that Camilla went all unhinged, is completely ambitious, wants to take over the world. I think that's a great villain to have.
Yes.
So I thought that was continuing to build her up as the main villain. But then Lenora was like, I want diplomacy. And I'm like, I thought this was what you wanted. It was kind of clear cut. I mean, not the ruling over the world part, but just Camilla taking over more land. And then the other two sisters were like, oh man, I just hate all of this. And the backpedaling that happened, look, the series admitted that they're backpedaling a bit and they made an explanation, and that's the best way to do it if you're gonna backpedal. But to be honest, the whole sister group, I don't think was even really necessary to have in this series.
I don't know if they're characters in the game, that's why you had to shoehorn them in. You could have had the entire plot, nothing would have changed if you just took out the lesbians.
Or at least just had them on Camilla's side and fighting Isaac with her.
Yeah.
Because the whole day armor was cool, and you use it to fight farmers. That's the thing with the vampires who are completely strong are fighting these helpless characters. I mean, they have numbers on their side, but it's dude, if you had a machine gun or a tank coming down into a village, you're not just gonna tell me this is just a battle of attrition. That's just lame.
Season 3 did so much exposition for Camilla, and I feel like none of it paid off in Season 4. It was just everyone kind of backpedaling. It had stupid Hector talking with Lenore, being like, oh, isn't that what you vampires are? Just always thirsty for power? Yada yada. Who gives a shit? By the way, Lenore and Hector is such a weird-ass hetero couple. It's just Stockholm Syndrome at one point.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Okay, basically Isaac is fighting Camilla.
He comes via...
transmission mirror.
Yes, and then he made peace with Hector. He's like, we're not children anymore. It's time for us to grow up.
Another backpedal.
Yeah.
I don't know what was the thing that made him grow up. Was it the whole Christianity thing? Not Christianity, but the fighting the mage who went mad and started making people his slaves?
I don't know.
Was it the talking to the night creature that remembered his past? What was it?
I'm very confused about the ring. I know I won't let go of the ring, but Hector's ring, if you remember from Season 3, they put it on him, and if he even thought about betraying them, he would be in so much pain, he would feel like he shat out his own heart. But in this season, when Isaac confronts Hector, Hector's like, by the way, Isaac, I have been doing a lot of betrayals behind the scenes. I did all this planning. I'm gonna bring back Dracula. And Lenore was just like, what the fuck? I'm gonna go cry in my little magic cage you put me in.
Yeah, that would have been a good point to bring out, like, what humans think of betrayal and then what vampires think of betrayal, and then, like, show, like, the different thinkings because there's such different creatures in different status of power. But it's just basically left to your own definitions.
It's so dumb because the only reason why he even had the free realm of the castle was because he had that ring and it did nothing. So maybe that's just Lenore's thing.
I don't know if it's just the whole Lenore doubting Camilla, but the fight scene between Camilla and Isaac, that I was like lovely.
It was such nice imagery of them fighting in the pool of blood.
The one thing I can't stand about season 4 was when they get really strong animation, they cut the shading.
Oh yeah.
And they only kept the shading in with the trio, the Trevor, Cypher, and Alucard. So it just kind of took me out of it every time that happened, when they would drop the shading, because then it felt like I was watching something else.
Well, I don't mind that. I understand why they had to do that from an artistic view, right? But
no, because to save time.
Well, it's because of like the fast blurring of motion, because it would take you out of it if there was too much details, if they're like blurring past you.
Shading, but basic shading would have taken me out of it?
You know, there was a lot of scenes when they was missing the shading is when she went from point A to B like really fast with the whole teleport zip zap.
Right.
So yeah, you can't have too much shading, or it just looks too busy on the screen and it looks less fast.
I guess so. I mean, that story basically ends with Isaac kills Camilla, Hector lives with Lenora, the two lesbians run off, and then Lenora's just like, I don't want to live like a caged bird for the rest of my life, so she kills herself. And that really made me hate Lenora, because she did the same thing to Hector, and Hector thrived and, you know, came out on top in the end, despite the backpedaling. But Lenora just couldn't do it. And I'm like, what?
Lenora was so smart in season 3, and in season 4 it was like, they don't need me. They don't need a diplomat. Me, we're gonna step out into the sun. Very beautiful scene, but
she's a beautiful character, but personality-wise, she's just very annoying. She really did have her use in season 3, and that was it.
I do think it's interesting how Hector was like, I am ready to die, Isaac. And Isaac's like, no, bitch, you're gonna thrive. Have a berry. Have a lime. And he's like, oh, okay. I guess that's like the difference between a human and a vampire, is that when a human hits rock bottom, they can get back up because their life is so short. But a vampire, when they hit rock bottom, is like, I don't know. I should just kill myself.
I mean, there was this whole thing where Lenora was talking about how vampires love stability and they love just having like a routine. And then it's like, okay, then how do you explain Camilla?
That's what they say. Lenora, it turns out she was living a lie.
Oh.
That's when Hector drops it, like, oh, you're always thirsty. Camilla was the real vampire. You weren't.
Ooh.
And Lenora's like, ah, shit. A lot of moments where Hector says something and Lenora's like, fuck you.
Oh yeah, before we move on, because I think that's pretty much it.
That's it.
I do love the scene of why Camilla is going crazy and why she wants so much power, about how like people have left her for dead because she's a female and all that jazz, and it's just like, you know, just explaining a little bit of her backstory and why she's moving forward, but without dragging it out like some of the other scenes. So then we go into the Alucard part. I mean, basically, it's hard because that is so interconnected with Saint Germain, which is very interconnected with the Trevor Belmont, but let's try to keep it Alucard and Saint Germain, I guess.
Yeah, because Saint Germain really is integral to Alucard.
So basically, Saint Germain wants to, again, he still wants to bring back his wife, and he meets an alchemist within the Infinity Corridor that says, dude, you're an alchemist. If you want the power to control the Infinite Corridor, you need to make a Reuben, which is a homunculus of a man and female.
Yeah.
And I'm like, isn't an alchemist basically somebody who wants to manipulate the laws of nature, but not in a way of magic, but in a way that still fits with the laws of physics?
It's hard. I don't know what a real alchemist is and what Fullmetal Alchemist is.
I don't know either. So Saint Germain is on a huge quest to bring back Dracula, because not only did it have to be half man, half woman, but also had to be half vampire, half human. I'm like, aren't the other species in this damn series? I can't stand series where it's like, you have supernatural creatures, but in Castlevania, it's just the one.
Yeah.
It's just a vampire. I'm like, why?
This is something we brought up a lot too, was we didn't understand where all the fucking night creatures came from.
Where is this other Forge Master?
Because clearly there's other species other than vampires. There's all these people, like, praying to Dracula. There's all those, like, little goblins that they fought. And yet we don't explain, anything about them.
And those lizard people. Were those night creatures? They don't look like night creatures, but they were lizard people.
So Saint Germain is working with Varney, some weird vampire dude. We'll get to him later.
From London.
Don't you know who the fuck I am? But yeah, and then meanwhile, he needs to get into Dracula's castle or where Dracula died in order to bring Dracula back. So he's gonna manipulate Alucard.
He's sending a bunch of night creatures to attack a somewhat nearby village, and then he tells the nearby village, hey, there's the Alucard.
Yeah.
Right over there. Why don't you go get him to help you? And they do it, and Alucard's like, fine. Like, he didn't learn his lesson the first time.
God shits in my meal once again. Ah, shit, I'm turning into Belmont.
I didn't realize he said that in the first season.
Yeah.
So he goes to help the village, and then they're like, why don't we live with you? And he's like, fuck.
Like, yeah, Jermaine brings up a good point. Your castle is really safe. And he's like, fuck. And then we meet a hottie patati named Greta, who I think is really cool. She fights with a sword and hammer. I just don't know how practical it is in real life.
I'm like, the hammer is shorter than the knife. If the hammer was at least longer, I could get it.
Yeah.
But you're basically going close quarters, which is not your forte. That's why you have the sword.
I just think that it was cool that one time she used the sword as kind of like a chisel and then hammered it in.
No, I mean, I get it. But like you said, practicality-wise.
Yeah, because I don't understand the arm strength there. I've never seen someone use a hammer with one hand unless you're Thor. But I do love Alucard with his magnetic sword, magneto sword and shield.
That was in season 1, and he didn't use the sword, or he didn't use the shield as a magnet thing.
I thought it was cool, okay? What the f*** you want me to say? He used it once against Trevor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Oh, yeah, he doesn't really use it that much, yeah?
Yeah, bitch.
'Cause I think Dracula pushes it away, and then... Oh, well, he did use it to kill the two Asians. So I'm just saying. He brings them to the castle, they're kind of setting up, and while they're setting up outside, Jermaine is like inside, like, I'm gonna be like the cult and make like, cool symbols around the castle.
Don't mind me. Just keep flirting with your little, black and coated girlfriend. A lot of PLCs this season.
A lot of dead PLCs.
Oh.
No. I think that's pretty much it for the Alucard part before we come back.
Yeah, because basically, there's this guy, his name is Dragon. He's working, is that his name? Dragon?
I don't remember seeing him anytime before the fight.
He was the one where he's like, what if I kill you now, Saint Germain? And Germain's like, you don't have the intelligence to do what I can do.
Oh, yeah.
So shut up and do what I say. And then he just brings like a shit ton of night creatures to attack Alucard's castle, which is supposed to be like an homage to all the monsters in the game.
So, to Trevor and Cypher part, I mean, that's what the show starts off with, what they've been doing for 6 weeks, which is pretty cool. Bit long, just for like a little foreshadowing. So
I thought it was a neat way to establish, how much time has passed, because it really did. It lent its help and assistance to understand where everyone was. Like, oh, Hector's been making that hammer of his for 6 weeks. Isaac was burying people for 6 weeks. Alucard was spiraling for 6 weeks.
I mean, I get that, but it's just too long.
Yeah, it was a little bit too long.
And another thing, it's them again going into a situation that they don't know what's going on. Basically, they go to a barn and they meet Xanther, and then they're like, let's follow this lady. Right? Like, it's just like coincidence.
Okay, so they're in the town where they first killed Dracula's wife. They meet Xanther. She's like the royal guard, and she's so irritating on so many levels. Something I don't understand is that when they enter that barn, they were like, oh, sorry that you had to bail us out. And Xanther was like, no, that was a trap for us. We didn't really came there to save you. And I was like, hey lady, why your two only good men and all your other soldiers suck? And why did one soldier have like a random gem that he was carrying for quote unquote good luck?
Oh, that's what they were referencing as the good luck thing.
Yes.
Did not understand that.
There's a thing part of Trevor's storyline where he found like a bunch of items, kind of like Super Smash Brothers when you find pieces of that giant gun, where Trevor's like looting everywhere and being like, ooh, wow. And people were saying, wow, that's so cool because it's like reminiscent of the game where you just gotta loot random things. But for me, I'm like, oh, that's a goddamn coincidence. That good thing you decided to loot this one guy.
To be fair though, he is a man with no money. Looting is probably part of the profession. The poor Belmont profession.
Alright.
But basically, you know, they go to Xanfer's town and they're like, man, everyone lives like shit. I want to see these royalties that you keep talking so great about. Meet the royalties, they end up dead, and Xanfer, you find out she's actually kind of gone insane thinking that the royalty, that they're these magical beings that will come back to life and help the town come back from, or save them from the apocalypse.
I do say I like Cypher a lot after these scenes because she sees everyone living in like a shithole and she's like, oh my god, these people forgot how to live. And Trevor's just like, oh, you know, give them some slack. They're in shock. I'm like, no, fuck that. Hey, you can't poop so close to the food. What's wrong with you? And then she takes charge and I'm like, oh my gosh, Cypher. Little hottie totati. And then she was very sympathetic with Zamfir being like, hey, I was giving you a hard time because I thought you was a crazy bitch. But you know you're a crazy bitch because of the trauma.
And Trevor's just like, that's what I said. I was like, no, you didn't.
And then Zamfir, she had a little tracking thing in the back of her collar and it attracted Varney and Ratko.
There's this extremely long scene of Varney and Ratko just talking to each other and shitting on each other. And that scene was like, if any scene they could like cut out completely, it was that scene. Although, I do think it is a good contrast to have like Ratko and Sturga, because she was like, I'm a soldier, but I don't fight fucking farmers. This is ridiculous. While Ratko was just all like, I'll do whatever it takes to win.
Oh, I never noticed that.
Right? Like,
yeah,
it's an interesting
nice
contrast. Yeah.
What I thought was weird is that later on you find out Varney is the concept of death, and he's kind of shitting on Ratko's, you know, way of murdering.
That is true.
Oh well.
Hey, Death only got eyes for one vampire. Real quick, since you brought up Death, I love that Varney's whole thing was, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm fucking Death!
Oh, you know what's nice? I really like Trevor finding that Indian weapon. It was cool.
That was cool, but also, how does that work? Where are the other two blades? I mean, unless it's like they overlap each other and then one turns?
Yeah.
I'm still confused.
I'm glad it shows how smart Trevor is, though.
Yeah, I cannot believe they brought Hinduism. There really is like no god in this world.
Yeah. I do love how they explain the whole, oh, sign the cross. And like, what does the Hindu see? He's like, oh, he just sees a geometric shape. Ah, shapes.
I mean, at the end of this fight, basically Rocco dies, Zamfir dies, and then Varney finds the transmission mirror and is able to go to Dracula's, or I guess Alucard's castle, and then Trevor and Cypher goes to Alucard's castle, and the three are back together again.
The scene everyone's been waiting for, and then it has like one of the coolest fights with the three of them, you know, defending the castle.
That's the great animation. That's where all the money and budget went to. The 360 spinning, the variety of moves. Okay, of all the fighting styles and animations and just like encompassing everything, which character do you like seeing fight the most?
I personally like seeing Cypher fight because I'm such a magic whore. But Trevor is a close second. I just love how long his whip is.
Trevor is a clear number one for me. The whip, of course, and I always like the melee type fighters. Alucard would be second, Cypher's third.
I do like that scene. I think he's just playing a generic vampire where like he has his two spears and they break and he just uses them as like kind of like tiny steak nunchucks. Jab, 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 jab.
That's the one thing that sucks about Trevor's fights. I do think he picks a lot from the environment, you know, like the pitchfork and the scythe, but they're so short-lived and he doesn't really use them in an interesting way, so he only really knows how to use what he knows.
No matter what, the best fight in Castlevania, hands down for me, is when Trevor was fighting in the library.
Oh yeah, that's an awesome fight.
It's just, yeah. But these was really cool. Like, I like how watching Alucard fight that one guy with the teleporting axe that's kind of reminiscent of Leonardo from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. You won't get that reference.
I don't, but that's a good fight. I love how it was very quickly, it told you the gimmick, you could figure out on your own, and then you watch the character do it.
Yeah.
It was all show, no tell.
I love when they was fighting, I think the necromancers? I don't know what they were.
I thought were they supposed to kind of be like the 4 apocalypse horsemen?
Maybe? There was a bone lady, a string lady, a poison guy. Oh, maybe, huh?
What was the fourth one?
I will never know.
It's not Dragon, yeah?
No,
He was
no,
like
no.
the fifth dude.
He was like the leader, yeah.
Oh, them fighting Dragon was a good fight.
That was a good fight, yeah. But I just love that part where Trevor saved Cypher and Cypher saved Alucard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, mother effing. OT3 material.
We're not gonna get into that fight.
So, yeah, Jermaine's with Varney, and that's when Varney reveals he was actually the alchemist that manipulated Saint Germain, but most importantly, he is death. And it's really funny because he's like, I am death. I am the very concept of death. Then Trevor comes up and Alucard's like, what the fuck is that? And Trevor's like, oh, that's a very old vampire who considered himself death. And then Germain, he does bring back Dracula and Lisa. And then Trevor, he uses his little Indian weapon to like slice the hermaphrodite corpse that's hosting Dracula and Lisa. And then everything explodes. Saint Germain gets killed by the rubble.
Why do they bring up the good point that only humans can touch hell? You know, like the Night Forges.
Yeah.
Master Forges?
I don't know. What for?
I think the Night Forges and like Saint Germain with the Infinity Corridor. Why don't they answer why vampires cannot go to hell? When vampires, are besides Dracula, are technically humans who become vampires.
It's like that philosophical question that's left for the viewers. Like, a good show shouldn't answer every question. Gotta make them think, you know?
But usually the questions that they leave unanswered is supposed to be like up to interpretation for the viewers.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is one meant to do that. Like, what would be the point?
I think so. I think it's just a philosophy question, like, oh, why can human only reach into the depths of hell? Whatever that witty line he said, that was funny. Like, how fucked up is that?
Yeah.
Maybe humans are the true evil?
No, humans become vampires. This whole separation of like humans and vampires, but in reality, vampires are all once human. So it's like, you're not really opposites or separates, you know? It's almost like a continuation of evolution in one sense.
Well, yeah, I think we're missing the whole point of that question if we think too much about it. Because we can all just have our own interpretation. Like, maybe vampires, they don't have souls, so that's why they can't mess with like other people's souls.
Anyways, Trevor and Death fight. Trevor defeats Death because he was able to use a dagger that he found in rubble and then combined it with the good luck talisman. I didn't understand where he got the...
So, in the beginning, from that 6 weeks ago, that's when he found the knife itself. Then later on, he got the gem from Xanthia's men. And then later on, he got the third final part by looting that little underground thing that Xanthia took them to.
What was the third part?
It was just basically like something to put in the knife. Like, there was something to put in the knife and something to put in the handle.
Oh, okay.
And then that was like an ancient weapon made long time ago that some dude made to make a suicide pact with God, so that it would kill God and himself.
The series seems pretty planned out from the day one, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's meant to be a 4-season series, that's it. But they couldn't figure out a way to write those pieces into the story better? Than besides coincidence and looting?
That's what I'm saying. Like, people are saying, oh, that's a very nice video game nod, but I'm like, that's not very nice narratively wise.
Yeah, it's nice, but it's not kind.
So, yeah, Trevor dies, and then he's like, okay, Cypher, do not name our child Treford. That's not a name. And I love that they talked about this before.
Yeah, it's a season 2 reference.
Is it?
In the finale, you know, they're just like, that's when they're leaving Alucard.
Oh.
And just talking about it.
They were talking about baby names all the way back then?
I don't remember if it was specifically like their baby, but it was
Yeah.
something like that. To be honest, they've only known each other for like less than a year at this point.
Well, later on it's revealed that Trevor has pregnancy powers, and that's how he stayed single for so long. But yeah, so Cypher, she's pregnant with Trevor's baby. Alucard's like, hey Greta, I have this plan so that your people can just live outside my castle and we'll make a new town. They do like a goddamn 10-minute conversation of Greta being like, no, that was my plan.
I mean, I love Greta as a badass woman, but her flirting with Alucard is just annoying.
I don't care for Greta at all. Like, I get it. She's supposed to be reminiscent of Lisa. There's parallels between her and Dracula and Lisa's relationship. And she's a strong personality, but you don't build anything with her. There's no funny moments or memorable moments I have with Greta.
It's that opposite of Oedipus complex. I think it's called like Electra complex.
Gross. And then Cypher, she's like, hey, I'm gonna bail because it's been 2 weeks and my baby daddy died. And I thought it was a really soft moment with Alucard and Cypher.
Yeah, that was cute.
It was like, hey, I want you to stay. You know, what if we name this town Belmont? And she's like, yeah, I think I would like to live in a town called Belmont.
Hypothetically, if, Trevor comes back, are we still naming it Belmont?
Like, well, it depends on how much of a dick he is.
I mean, he's a big dick.
Yeah, probably.
Damn it.
By the way, I think it's implied I adopted some orphan kid. They call me daddy.
Oh, gross.
And then, the most OP character in the entire series, a black horse comes trotting towards them. Now, this black horse previously brought this dead messenger, to bring Alucard to the town that Greta was protecting. It brought like a whole ass bunch of people to that town as refugees, and now it's bringing a mysterious figure. No one knew who it was. No one could have even guessed.
It was a mystery.
It was Trevor! Saint Germain, in his final moments of simping for his wife, opened the infinite corridors to shoot away Trevor.
What happened? He put him in the infinite corridor, and then I guess the infinite corridor eventually shot him back out into the world?
Yeah, because they explained that the infinite corridors isn't a mysterious dimension. It's just like a many doors to different times and places. So it implies that it shot him out 2 weeks later and face down in a field.
Is it like a really strong transmission mirror then?
Maybe. I don't know, man.
Right? Because the transmission mirror, you can talk to people, you can see things, you can move through it.
I will say, I don't understand Saint Germain. I thought he was a time traveler, and then he's very educated, and then you had that really sad scene of him introducing him to a bunch of lords, and it's him simplifying his title every single time just to be accepted.
And then he was a cradle robber. His wife is way younger than him. Like half his age.
And then all he wanted was to have sex again, and he got manipulated.
You call it manipulation if he was gonna go through this? Because even when he found out, he still went through with it.
Well, because he got threatened with death.
He died anyways. I don't think he was gonna come out of this alive no matter what he did.
Okay, so it has this last redemption of him saving Trevor, and I really like that scene of this man needs some help. And I think Trevor, that's when he reveals his pregnancy powers and someone come and kill this man now. And then Alucard reveals that they're gonna make a town and call it Treford or Treffy, and Trevor was like, someone come and kill me.
Yeah, that was super funny. And I love that the show ended on this bright note.
Oh yeah, of all the dark and gloom, I think it was a way to finish the story. It's just character growth of Trevor in the beginning being drunk and sad and, not really into the monster fighting business, and now he refound his love for fighting monsters, and now he's gonna continue the Belmont name.
The only thing that I can't stand, and I kind of feel bad, is that I can't stand that they brought back Dracula.
I don't care.
And Lisa.
Yeah, Dracula and Lisa came back and was like, oh, now we can finally be together. Hey, y'all, I never cared about this couple. Why are they here? They're only here so when they do the sequel, they can do something. And
then it was Isaac was doing this whole talk to even mention it twice in the same conversation that Dracula deserves his rest. And so Dracula and Lisa should just stay dead. And then what's gonna happen when Lisa dies again?
Maybe she can't die because she's a zombie now.
She's gonna die somehow. Whether it be from old age, whether it be someone kills her, whether she dies in a fire. Because Dracula's not gonna kill himself. He's almost immortal.
Yeah, and he did that whole suicide note.
Right, so I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do then? You're just gonna wait another 50 years before you go mad? And then they're like, oh, let's not see Alucard. And it's like, really? Okay, just abandon him.
Again, the ending, everyone got a happy ending. I'm glad for them. I can sleep tight. I'm not gonna complain about the ending. It's not that great narrative. I would never say Castlevania had the best writing in the world. I think they have really good characters. They have really nice fight scenes. If you take a single moment from Castlevania, that's a cool scene. If you put it all together, it's kind of what was the point?
Yeah, a lot of things didn't feel super necessary, especially the way they wrote it. It was very unexpected, but it was I don't know if I wanted this. I think I still wanted Camilla to be the bad guy. I still wanted Isaac to be a bad guy. I kind of wanted Hector to suffer. I wanted the trio to come back earlier, and then because Trevor and Cypher at one point was let's go find Camilla and defeat her, even though we lost her. That never happened, and are they still confused? Don't we have have to find this bitch?
Something I really don't understand, I feel like this is all Castlevania. When Trevor was fighting Death, all his whip moves did nothing. Then at the near end, that's when Trevor was like, supercharged whip moves, and it finally did something. So like, it helped him use the knife against him. And I feel like that's Castlevania. There's a lot of like drama and fighting, when in the end it meant kind of like nothing.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But overall, despite all the things that we don't like, I think it was a fantastic series. I highly recommend.
Okay, no matter what, everyone should watch Castlevania.
It's a great story. And it's just different. It goes against a lot of the rules of other stories, right? Like splitting up the protagonist, not necessarily having all the stories be connected or like end the same. It still makes you want to watch the series, no matter what. And it's not terrible at all. I know we spent like the last half an hour kind of almost shitting on everything, but overall it was really a good series.
Yeah, it's just, everyone is kissing its dick. I just want to bring a different perspective of, hey, why is no one talking about this? Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I mean, just watch the series. You'll know why it's good.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun. And with that, just like Castlevania, we come to a close. And we'll come back if we ever want to see Trevor's grandkid.
Or if we ever see a spin-off that's supposed to be in the works now.
God, I hope it is. If that gets cancelled, I'll cry. Okay, bye.